Welcome back, everyone, to the Celebrating Singles podcast. I am your host, Christy, and I am here today with my dear friend, Kayla. Welcome, Kayla.
Hello. Hey, girl.
We are so pumped to have you today. So Kayla and I met when we both lived in San Francisco, and I'm so excited to celebrate you today, Kayla. Oh my gosh, we're about to get real. I hope y'all are ready because Kayla brings it, and I'm pretty excited to see where we go today. I'm like, who knows where we could go today? We've probably talked about this topic, I don't know how many times in real life. And so this is the first time we're doing it, obviously in front of a microphone, in front of a camera. But tell us first, before we get into it, because I'm sure we'll get into it pretty quick. But Kayla, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you up to these days? Obviously, you're living in San Francisco, beautiful city. Tell us a little more. Give us a little preview of who Kayla is.
Well, one thing about me is I've realized, because like I'm a Southern girl at heart, for sure. But I've noticed like in the city, it's like, yeah, I'm like, this is what I do for work and this is where I went to school. And that's kind of not my vibe. I'm kind of like, hey, I like to write music. I like to do poetry. One day I want to take a pottery class. Also is the vibe right now. That's like how you get to know me.
That's
Like, I don't know.
perfect. I love it. Absolutely. That's so good.
I'm not the resume girl. You're just kind of gonna get like my day-to-day interests. Like it just seems more fun that way. And I feel like I've noticed like I'm really that person that likes to like find relatability. So that's kind of easier to do. But I totally also can go into like what I do for a living. Like I'm a nanny, so I work basically like with a nonprofit. And I basically nanny the babies of the teachers that work for the nonprofit. So they basically round up all their little kitties, and I'm just like, I watch all your babies while you teach everybody else's babies, and I just hang out with them.
So good.
And I'll tell you, toddlers are the most wonderful beings in this world. They are the most like hilarious little beings ever. Like the best jokes, the most hilarious expressions. Like they will be 100% honest with you, which I really appreciate. Like they're like my favorite things. Like they're like my favorite little parts of like human life is that season.
I love it.
But yeah, all in all, that's like kind of where I'm at right now. Like I'm in like a very creative building like vibe. Like that's where I am.
As you should be, Kayla. You are a beautiful, beautiful songwriter. I have benefited for sure, and the world doesn't know what's coming. But Kayla, I'm so grateful for you. And I love that. And I agree. I hate it. I moved to San Francisco from the Midwest, and I was like, who are these people? And this is not what I want to talk about for 10 hours. Like, I'm just
I can only talk about Bitcoin for so long, like I can only talk like people's spreadsheets for so long. I can only do it for so long.
So real. So real. I'm sure there's got to be some Instagram or something of all the creatives in San Francisco who like just feel crushed by all of the business talk all the time. And it's like, let's talk about something meaningful.
Yeah, we're like, basically, it's like I've realized like I'm just like I found my crew here. It's just like I'm just like a hippie here. Like before, like it was like, no, I was misunderstood. Now it's like I'm a hippie. So like same type of person, just a different label.
Hey, it is all about perspective. That's part of what we're going to talk about. That's good. It is all about perspective. That's so good. And owning who you are and being okay with it. Yeah.
Okay with it. It's like one of the like the funnest things to do is like, which I think is like one of the beauties about being in like San Francisco, the city itself. It's like there's so much that you can discover about the place here, like the history here, and you can take whatever avenue you want to. You can take the creative way, you can take the historical way, you can take like this more spiritual journey of it, of like the ebbs and flows of like, you can take the cultural way. And like all of it kind of like as you discover the city, you kind of discover parts of yourself in the same way. It's super cool. been such an
That is
experience.
so good. That is so true. I agree. I definitely had a similar experience in San Francisco. So that's awesome. I love that.
Mhm.
That's super cool. Well, okay, Kayla, let's hop right in because I feel like you've got so much and I'm like, I'm ready to get it out of you. Okay. So I want to first kick off. I know, here we are. I want to first kick off with like something we've talked about before, but like this idea that we both are in kind of communities and different groups of people and kind of an age group where there are so many people getting married, having
Mhm.
bachelorettes, having babies, like the whole thing, right? And so
Yeah.
talk to me about that tension of like celebrating. I know, you've been one to like
Mhm.
throw the shower or the whatever.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that tension of like being
Mhm.
single and what does that look like for you of kind of living in that tension?
Yeah, I think one thing that and you know this about me, I try to be as authentic and honest as possible. Like I'm one of those
That's why
people,
I invited you. Let's be real.
like I'm going to keep it 100% a buck, 100% like as much as I can. And like, because like emotions are just such like temporal, like things that we experience, like it changes. But kind of that tension of like really just celebration and like honesty and like kind of realizing like, okay, like I really am like loving the season my friends are in, loving the season my sisters are in, loving the seasons like that my brothers are in. I love it. Like everybody's like doing great. Promotions are happening. She's going to Dubai. Like this one just got married. This one just started dating. This one's the first baby. All of it's happening and it's so great. Also want those things for myself. Like it's changing the but to the and, I think is the big thing. It's like living in the
Wow.
both and like changing that narrative of like I can't be both. Like um
Mm-mm.
like of course like with holidays especially it brings it all out because it's like okay, the family member that just started dating somebody and they're at like Christmas, or like the one of my best friends, she just had her first baby and it's like oh my gosh, like life is like in the new year is going to look so different, like, and my new year is going to look very much like not much is gonna change for me. Like, I mean, who knows? But but it's like being able to have authentic conversations and then having people in your circle that will remember that with you.
Mhm.
I think for me, like I shared with you, like one of my sisters recently just started dating somebody new, and like me and my sisters, we have this really big like it doesn't matter what it is, be honest, just be honest. It like literally, if you offend me, you hurt my feelings, give me two, maybe like a day or two. We'll talk about it later. But like, be honest, be up, just be honest. Like, just don't let yourself like shy back from being exactly who you are and where you are.
Mhm.
And like, I sat down with one of them and I was like, yeah, so like, you just started dating this guy and oh my gosh, like, I do like want to date somebody. Like I do want that thing too. And it's like I
Right.
am low key kind of getting the jealous, like in the jealous vibes. And it's not this like, oh, I want this for me and not for you. It's like, no, I want that for you and for me. Like I want us to both be able to come to the table and be like, yeah, we're both in it, girl. We both found somebody. We both got the promotion. We both bought the flight. Like, but sometimes it's not. And you
Mhm.
know, like being able to live in the boat, but then also have communities of people that will let you, you know, like where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, like I have to watch out now because such and such said that they're like experiencing jealousy. Like, like jealousy is not like this. Well, let me say this. Like, it's not a emotion we should be afraid of. It is
Mhm.
information, but it has to be taken in account for. It's like if you like notice something on your spreadsheets and the numbers aren't adding up, it's like take account of like
Mm.
what you're noticing. Like not as this like, oh, this virus, oh my gosh. It's like, no, this is information. And how you handle the information to make sure that you're healthfully like going through like the habits necessary to get to a healthier place like starts with that baseline. So I feel like that's kind of been the season for me is like realizing like you know what, like I can live in the both and finding
Mhm.
those people that will live in the both and with me of like that like
Good.
just got in the relationship 2 months ago, but they can be like, but I also remember 2 months ago what it was like to feel single and like be wanting this thing. Like I'm not so far removed because this relationship just started, you know? So that's kind of
So
been like the
good.
tension. Hmm.
No, but okay, you just dropped so many good nuggets. One is like we've got to be honest and we have to be able to be honest with one another without
Hmm.
like poo-pooing where they're at, right? But then I love the other thing you were like that jealousy, use that as like information. Like use
Hmm.
that as like information just like you would like, you know, a report or whatever, and then actually dive into that. Like don't just
Yeah.
like, and maybe you don't process that with the person that just started dating someone,
Yeah.
you process,
Hmm.
you know, differently either by yourself or with someone else, but actually take that information instead of just skipping over it or being like, oh, I wish that
Hmm.
wasn't there or that shouldn't be there. Actually taking
Hmm.
inventory and like
Yeah.
processing that jealousy or the
Yes.
envy. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
I,
think that's like one thing. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
oh, no, go for it. You're good.
um, I was just gonna say, like, I think that's one of the things that I find that like the culture of like what is it relationships just in general really need of just like communication continuing to flow, like what is it processing continuing to be like it's not this thing where I'm not gonna stop going through this process of improvement when I get the thing or like when I meet the person or
Mm.
whatever. It's like it's a
Mhm.
continual like way of life. It's like choosing to live a lifestyle of being like a learner of like yourself, of being a learner of your community, being a learner of like the people and the places that you go, like choosing to be teachable, like even to the things that you learn about yourself and not being surprised.
So
It's
good.
like human being, like I'm probably gonna feel jealous. I'm probably gonna like understand, like I'm probably gonna go through these things more than just one time in my life, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's so good. And I think during the times of unhealth, I tried to just skip over those things and tried to pretend like
Hmm.
they weren't there. And
Yeah.
then some of my healthiest times have been like, no, actually, this sucks. Like, I'm disappointed. You know, when you go through
Yes.
like, I think I've been through like 4 rounds of friends by now of people getting
Hmm.
married and starting
Hmm.
families. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, that twinge hits you of like, shoot, like this person's 10 years younger than me and experiencing
Hmm.
these things that I thought I would experience at an earlier age. And actually sitting with those emotions and not just bypassing them,
Right.
and not feeling
That's
shame
so
about them
true.
either.
Shame.
Yeah,
Shame is like such a liar. Such a
so
lie.
tricky. Yeah.
Such a lie. Because it's basically
Hmm.
telling like you, like it's like that voice in your head that's basically like where I am right now, I'm not supposed to be who I am. And it's like,
Mm,
no, I am supposed to be exactly who I am. Actually, where I am right now, that's exactly where I am. It's exactly where I should be. And I'm not staying here. Like, I'm actually not.
yes.
Uh, we are never staying where we're
Yes.
at. I think that's like one of those, like, we really have to really take the sledgehammer too. Is like, me processing this doesn't mean I'm staying here. Like I'm not staying
Mhm.
here. It's me processing it and walking through it. That means I'm leaving. I'm making the decision to get out
Let's
by
go.
going through it, not around it or covering it up or pretending it doesn't exist or not having the conversation or whatever it is, you know?
I
Yeah.
love that. I love it.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm in agreement. And I think I love to what you're like, use it as information, like use it as a data point.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I'm going to sit on that for a while because that's good as like this is important information. Don't just bypass it.
Yeah.
Um, and then, you know, yeah. And then don't necessarily judge yourself for it or feel shame for it. So this is so
Hmm.
good. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could go a million different ways there. That's really helpful. Thank you, Kayla. This is good already. So thankful. Okay. One of the things, I mean, obviously you talked about this a little bit, but I want you to expand on this a little bit more because I think everyone like wants to say they're honest and wants to say they're their real
Hmm.
selves. But I'll be honest with you, I said that for years, and then I realized, oh, I'm not even being honest with myself. Like, how am I honest with other
Mm.
people? I'm not actually even being honest with myself. So you talked towards this a little bit, but kind of help us expand on this, because I think you carry this really interestingly in a really unique way. And honestly, in a, like, man, it's like everyone like around you, at least I can speak to this. I'm like, man, I want that in my life. Like, I want to be
Mhm.
able to truly be myself and not feel
Mhm.
guilty, not feel bad about it, not try to hide it, not try to hold back. I mean, as I would say, like a woman who has a strong personality, this is something that
Yes.
for a long time I like held back. I'm like, well, wait a
Same.
minute, that's not going to work for very long. Like, I'm going to get in a
Mhm.
relationship, I'm going to get married. This is me. I have a strong personality, and some man
Mhm.
is going to love it, and I'm waiting for
Some are
that.
gonna
But
run.
and then some are going to run, and I'm grateful, because the reality is I
Mhm.
don't want to hide who I am for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I have plenty of friends that actually like me enough, like that I get to have really good
It's that
relationships
part.
with.
Mhm.
So talk to me about, obviously you are there, but maybe you didn't start there. Maybe share a little bit more about your process or your journey, or what that's looked like for you.
Oh, girl, it's funny. No, it's oh my gosh, it has been such a process. Actually, this is one thing that I think anytime especially every time I go home, my family is the most proud of me for that type of the growth that I went through in this
Yes.
specifically. But it was also because it was realizing within my own family dynamic, this was the part of like, this was the part of me that nobody knew how to handle. Everybody was like, Kayla's
Mm.
emotions are too big. Everybody was like, Kayla is always loud. Kayla's singing upstairs and the whole house can hear. Like everybody, like
Come sing in my
I
house, Kayla.
was literally but I was the one that was hidden. Like it was like, who do you like warn like a new friend about in the house? The person was me. I was them. I was the one to warn the others about, prepare the others. Like, but it was because of like being able to engage in the wounds of that. Like wounded
Mm.
areas, wounded experiences. Like, oh my goodness. Like even with me, like, what is it? There were so many different things when it came to like even like racial things that I even had to unpack that were so hard to
Mm.
unpack for me. That like I had to find healthy community to do it with. But then also
Mm.
it was sitting in my room and being honest, like of like, okay,
Mm.
when I think of myself, I think I'm a loud person. Why do I think that? Where did I get that from?
Wow.
What does that mean about me and how I see myself? It's actually asking
Wow.
myself those hard questions. And like, I even remember one day I was like sitting in my room, just kind of meditating and processing. And this thought came up of like, I remember even as a kid, sometimes like, cause it's like, what is it? Like before phones, before all the things, before technology,
Right.
kids were outside. We were outside. And it was like,
Yeah.
you like meet up with your friends with your scooters and your bikes and I remember this one time I went out with my sister's friends because my parents had this thing about us where it's just like, if one leaves the house, somebody else has to go with you for accountability because you're not going to get away with anyone. And I usually was the one to go because I'm so honest. I would just snitch on everybody. It was so bad. It was so bad. I couldn't keep a secret for nothing. It was horrible. But it was so horrible. But I remember one time we got back from hanging out with my sister's friends, and specifically remember asking her, "Hey, was I too loud? Did I embarrass you?
Mm.
Like, oh my goodness, did I do
Wow.
something too weird?" Like I was asking her to critique my behavior as like
Wow.
a 11-year-old girl, and it was like that's a
Wow.
childhood wound that I brought with me into my adulthood where I ask these questions to myself, like even like I sit in my room sometimes. I used to do this so horrible. I would sit in my room and be like, okay, was I too loud with this person? Did I
Mm.
say too much? Did I like it was like I was critiquing my
Yeah.
own present day development. And it's like, if I can't even allow myself to be the vulnerable, authentic person of who I am, how will I ever expect myself to grow to be the person I know I can be, because I'm ashamed of the person I already am. That's
Wow.
insane.
Wow.
Um, and then there's also the trap, which is one thing that I fell into. Because, like, of course, like, I grew up in Georgia in the South. Like, getting married is like, you're like 22, like, didn't even get your diploma yet, didn't even get the degree.
Ring
Like,
by
and you're
spring.
in the ring by spring. Yep, girl. Like, it was the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And to fall in the trap of even like you mold yourself into the partner that you're with at the time, and like that's even like a
So,
toxic way of thinking or like processing yourself, because it's like not only are you dulling who you actually are, all you're doing is like mending yourself and tying yourself to this person that you might not even ever be with. And it's like you kind of just almost kind of end up tearing yourself apart over and over again through relationships, whether it be like romantic, whether it be even friendships, where you kind of try to be that person. And then when whether happens with life, or whether you actually show yourself to be who you truly are and they don't like it, you tear parts of yourself and just more
mm,
strands of wounds happen. Um, so like I think one thing that I think that was the most helpful with me, for me, like of getting through that process, was choosing my own company for a long time. It was like noticing, okay, what were things that were voices that were spoken to me that I kind of like internalized? What were things from
mm,
past relationships? What were things from past friendships? And then really finding the authenticity of who Kayla was in solitude. Like, and it's like the beauty of realizing, like, oh, like sitting in this place where I like can turn some music on, whatever I want to listen to. And I'm not worried about hitting somebody's top 10, top 40, nothing. And it's like the music I want to jam to, or the music I want to sing, singing as loud as I want. That when I can step out into the world, I can tell when I'm being myself and I can tell when I'm not. And then starting the work from there. I think that was like probably the most helpful thing that got me in that
so
process
good.
of being where I am and being who I am all at the same time, but still growing,
So good.
still like processing and growing. But yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is so good. I love it. There's so many ways we could go here, but I want to highlight solitude because I do think that is so pivotal in actually doing so many of these interviews. It's so interesting. That is a common denominator of people who I'd say are
Mm,
healthy in their singleness, are people who can just be alone with themselves and actually, and I mean, you're taking it to the next level and it sounds like you've already done our course. Or maybe you're going to teach one of those classes in the future, because we talk about like sitting alone with your thoughts and start identifying like what are the ways you're being critical about yourself, what are actually some ways you
mm,
can celebrate yourself, and
mm,
doing that in solitude. But then the other way that we encourage people is to do it with a friend. Like I started confessing some of these things to a friend and she's like, Christy, I love that you sing all the time. Like I love that you're always singing. I love that you're always humming, you're always singing, you're always singing something. And I have been made fun of for that, or other roommates were like
mm,
annoyed by that. But my one friend was like, I love that about you. And I was like, oh wow, you can love that about me. Like, oh,
yeah,
awesome. Here we are. Or I laugh really loud. I have a very high pitched voice and I have a very high pitched laugh. And you either love it or you hate it. And that's okay. But here I am. Like, this isn't
here
changing,
I am.
like, and I'm not going to change
Hmm.
that. And I actually have enjoyed myself. And then other people around me enjoy me when I actually
Hmm.
am myself and I'm not trying to hide who I am. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it took well into my 30s for me to be honest about certain preferences, like dumb
Mm.
stuff. Like, I don't like chocolate cake, is weird. I don't know why. I just don't. I prefer vanilla cake. That's my preference. But I would
Solid.
lie and I would eat
Mm,
chocolate cake even for my birthday because I knew everyone else liked chocolate cake. So I would
girl.
just defer and be like, I know everyone else prefers chocolate cake. So until someone was like, actually, I prefer vanilla. And I was like, oh, me too.
Me
Like, I do
too.
too. So stupid, such a tiny thing, but actually it was like really profound because I was like, wait, I can say for my birthday, I don't want chocolate. I want vanilla. Or actually, like, I really prefer
Yeah.
cheesecake. If you really want to get what I like, I really like cheesecake. And I could own that. And it was like this profound moment where I was like, wait a minute, I'm in my 30s and I'm just now like kind of owning the fact that I have never in my life preferred chocolate cake. Like it's just so, it seems so stupid, but it was actually like this really interesting moment where then other people would ask me my preferences and I would start to realize the ways that I defaulted to other people. And I
Yeah,
actually just didn't
people
own like,
pleasing.
yeah, it's total people pleasing. Oh my gosh, it's
It's
total people
such a people
pleasing.
pleasing thing. It's like so, but I feel like it's like one of those things where it's like when you're used to like catering to others and like you're used to like kind of like fitting in other people's boxes so much that like
Mm-hmm.
you realize when you realize like not only can I leave this box, I can like be not in anybody's box ever again. Like I can actually just be free. Like like I'm not even building another box. I'm not building another box. I'm just gonna be free. Like I'm not. We're just gonna be free. Like
Let's
where it's
go.
like even when my preferences change, it's like okay, I used to
Mm-hmm.
say I didn't like chocolate. I used to say I only ate vanilla, but now I just only like cheesecake because both taste nasty. Like I just like I even remember like when I first started like teaching. What is it? I used to love cupcakes. Oh my gosh, cupcakes all the time. Yes. But what does every preschool parent get their kid for their birthday? Cupcakes to share with every single preschooler. So by the end of 2 years, I hated cupcakes. And long and behold, a parent tried to give me a cupcake for my birthday. And I was like, thank you so much, but I probably will not eat this because experience have it. I don't like them anymore because life happened and I changed with life,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think like that's the part where it's just like being able to like have preference and change. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard to be able to change, even with the people you want to love changing with the most. And that's kind of where even sometimes grief can happen, where it's like, whether it be in relationships, whether it be in friendships or in communities, where it's like finding those people that will evolve with you, that will like, oh, they're not going to be like, well, you used to do this and you used to do that. It's like, no, I understand that Kayla, Christy, they're complex beings. Who they were 5 years ago, they're not the same person and like being able to find those people that really get it. Like I can tell you like back home, I only have maybe two friends now because they understood that about me. That Kayla's
Mm-hmm.
coming back to visit a different person every time. And they're not like trying to bring up old things. They're just like, who are you now? What are you doing now? Like, what are the things now? That's why it's like when I even like, what is it? Introduce myself to people, it's like I try to communicate in the things I'm doing now because
Mm-hmm.
catch me in 6 months, it might change. I'm like, it might change and flip the script, you know?
And that's so good. And we got to do that. And like, wouldn't that be, I mean, now with like neuroscience and understanding growth mindset and things like that, it's like, well, wait, we actually do get to grow. If I'm staying stagnant, who I was 10, 15, even 5 years ago, like, then I'm actually not pursuing growth. And I don't want to be around other people like that either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be around people that are
Mm-mm.
still stuck in the same either habits or thought patterns or behavior. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's obviously like people can hold their values, people can hold things that stand the test of time, but there are definitely ways that we evolve and grow. And I love that as a single person, we do get to choose, obviously, people who are going to champion that in us. I know for me, that was
Mm-hmm.
definitely a huge change. I was really making a huge shift with my drinking habits. And because I was
Mm-hmm.
like really, really unhealthy, like at the beginning of my singleness, I kind of really even mid 20s, even late 20s, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
very unhealthy drinking habits like binge drinking, blacking out. I know most people cannot imagine that now because I don't drink at all anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a personal thing, health wise, that I just realized it was not adding to my life. And so but at the beginning, I just, instead of meeting up with friends for happy hour, I would like, hey, can we go for a walk? Or could we go for a run? Or could we go kayaking or something like that? And at first, my friends were really caught off guard. They're like, but I love going to happy hour with you. And I'm like, that's awesome. But I have these health goals. This isn't good for me. It's not good for my skin. It's not good for all these things. Like I really want to like move towards these health goals. And it's pretty quick. You're going to find out who is actually being friends with you to be friends with you.
Yeah.
or who was like going to have a good time or whatever, it was like pretty quick
Mm-hmm.
you could start to see who actually genuinely wanted to spend time with you. And so I coach
Yeah.
so many singles to say it's okay to like there's like a pruning process as you go on this growth and health journey. And it sucks. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to say it's easy. It's definitely pruning sucks. Like you prune,
Yeah.
rose bush or something. Like it's like you take that snip and you're like, whew, that's cuts, literally cuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to decide like these are my long-term goals. And really at the end of the day, like no one else is going to be looking out for me. Like I have to make decisions towards these long-term goals. Everyone else,
That's
if
true.
I'm constantly in people pleasing, then I'm not actually going to be able to achieve those long-term goals for myself. So I love that it's just such a good reminder that you're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
find people that will evolve with you.
Yes, yes. And then like also like even finding those people, because like from one big personality person to another, like we like and like not to like hype ourselves up of like, oh my gosh, we're so great. But we realize like we're experienced people. When we pull up, we're bringing a party with us.
Yes.
We're bringing vibes. Like and like
We are
realizing
bringing
like
some vibes.
we're bringing it because it's who we are and we're walking in that, especially when you're free. It's like when you find like who you are and you're just able to be who you are, and it's just like there's like a level of freedom to you, especially people that like what is it are still working to get there. Like they're like, oh, I want that so bad, and they'll try to grip on, and it's like, yeah, but if you're not inclining, gonna get left behind. Like you gotta come run the race. Come be a part of it. Come join the dance party, sis. Like, or bro, like, come do it. Understand something. You not gonna stop my vibe because I have gone through too much to go back. I'm not going backwards.
Let's
I'm
go. Let's
keeping the
go.
freedom, okay? And oh my
Yes.
goodness, especially in dating though, because I've realized like, and my sisters used to warn me as like I grew in like being who I am, they were like, Kayla, like understand like you are a personality, and some people will truly just want to date you because of just your personality and self. But it's like if they see also like how big you carry sadness, how big you carry like anger, like it's just as big as your laugh. It's just as big as your like what is it? Your big expressions all around like big burstful, they may only want the good parts. And you got to watch out for people that like only want the good parts. And it's not in this way of like, what is it? Completely like shunning yourself off, but it's like carrying like a level of like awareness to people, like where it's like, okay, in looking for people that I want to like have friendships with, engage with, like long term, short term, whatever, like carrying a level of like authority and like protection around and guarding of myself of like I know who I am. I know what I bring as a person. However, I also know that like I'm a person that people will gravitate towards for the wrong reasons and wrong
Mhm.
intention. And it's a sad thing, but it's true. It is what it is. It's honest. It's just honest. And like some people
Yeah,
don't know
that's
how to
good.
like carry that honesty like on the forefront, but it's like being aware as a person of like, okay, like the person that I am will gravitate many, but
Mhm.
the person that I'm still trying to become, like only few are probably going to get there with me. And it's like,
That's
yeah,
good.
which we can sometimes can lead to like realizing I'm probably going to have a lot more grievances when it comes to friendships and dating and things like that when you realize it, but
Well, but
all
I
part of
always
it.
say, I only need one. I don't need 10.
That's
I
true.
don't need 100. Like I actually just need
Mm-hmm.
one. So
Yeah.
I even think with that, I've like come a long way of like realizing like, well, I am the person I am. And not to say like I'm obviously, we're all evolving, but I really actually only need one person that loves all of me.
Mm.
And the work in progress me and the things I know, I always like to joke. I'm like, I'm at least self-aware of the things that I'm working on. I'm ready to let that all out there so what
Yes.
I'm working on. The things that, are part of me that I don't necessarily want to continue to
Hmm.
stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say guy friendships has been a huge game changer for me in this area. I'll never forget the first time I had like some big emotions and it happened in front of a guy friend. And there was no going back. Like, this is happening and this is happening right here. And he just made space. He didn't get uncomfortable. Maybe he was uncomfortable, but he didn't show it. And
Yeah.
he like came out with like a genius question or something. He was like, what would be like the best way to support you right now? Like, do you want to talk about it, or you just want me to sit here and like give you space to like have these emotions? But I was like, that was a genius move, like, and it
Mm-hmm.
made me feel
Yeah.
really loved that he was like, how do you actually want me to support you in this moment? But he didn't run.
Yeah.
He didn't try to like fix it right away. He just like allowed the
Mm-hmm.
space. And I was like, wow, this is a game changer that a guy can experience my big emotions
Yes.
and not run the opposite direction, or not try to gaslight me or try to make me feel like, oh, you shouldn't be feeling this way, or why are you allowing these emotions
Yeah.
to come up now, kind of thing. So shout out to healthy men out
Guy
there who can
relationships.
handle
Yes.
emotions. We're huge fans. May there be more of you. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, Kayla, we could talk about so much more. I know we have to run. I think we're at time, but man, this has been so rich, so good. We are so grateful. I've learned so much. I'm ready to go process some of this stuff. I'm like, dang, this is really good. We got to get you on an episode for this online course, teaching all the things, because you got some really good gold nuggets here. Hey, and thank you. I feel like I want to honor and just acknowledge the fact that everything you shared about today takes so much time to like do the hard work of processing your emotions, processing all this stuff. Like you mentioned, kind of like hours and hours of solitude, just getting used to being comfortable with who you are. And I'm just grateful. I've learned so much from today's chat, and I know it's going to be a blessing to a bunch of people who hear this. So if you're tuning in, we are dropping these episodes every Tuesday. You can find this anywhere you consume podcasts. You can search Celebrating Singles. You can check out our online course at celebratingsingles.com. You can find our reels, little snippets, good little nuggets for the day-to-day on Instagram at Celebrating Singles. And we are so grateful to be able to be celebrating Kayla today. And check us out next Tuesday. We'll be dropping a new episode on Celebrating Singles podcast. Thanks, everyone.